On that wall.
Ty Cicero high today.
Yeah, Tom's a man, he's got the plan, he's really got it made. What a wife he's got, she's smoking hot, check out the junkyard babe. When everything is said and done, no one can beat his show. He's a high-tech redneck, Tony Soprano. If you love sports without the fluff, he's got the master plan. 'Cause nobody does it like Thom Abraham, yeah.
I guess I'm on here, am I on? Can somebody respond?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a Top 10 Tuesday in the Doghouse. I am your host, Thom Abraham. So glad that you are with us today. And, well, since it is Super Bowl week and the NFL coaching carousel has finally stopped spinning, I thought I would break out a list of coaches that took multiple franchises to the Super Bowl. And yet in 56 years, no one has won with two different teams. There have been multiple coaches take teams two Super Bowls, two different teams, but no one has ever won. In fact, in the entire 150-some-odd year history of college football, only Nick Saban and Urban Meyer have won a title at two different schools. I mean, it's really an interesting note when teams or schools consider hiring a proven head coach. You know, you get this proven commodity. Well, you know, we won the Super Bowl with Doug Peterson, you know, with the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll hire him, you know. History shows that history does not repeat itself when coaches move from one place to another. Phone lines are open. Feel free to jump in. 256-576-4977. You can also text the show, 732-9TA-SHOW, 732-982-7469. It's a tremendous way to communicate with us through the text window. Also, no, I gotta check it. I can't stand it. I gotta check it. Oh. Okay. All right. I thought it was going to happen. I thought it was Drew DeArmond was forwarding me a text, which I really appreciate, but I thought it had to do, you know, we're waiting for Brian Harsin to get fired. I thought it had to do with that. The Maryland Terrapins are hiring recent Raging Cajuns football associate head coach Wes Neighbors to the Terps staff. And we just have a story about Wes, not our Wes Neighbors, his son, Wesley, as we call him. So Wesley, wasn't he just named the associate head coach of, Chris is shaking his head. Yeah, that was the one, right? Yeah, it wasn't Connor. It was Wes. So now he is moving on to Maryland. And he's coaching the Big Ten, which is a bigger deal than coaching at Louisiana. All right, good note from Drew there. I'll have to read the details on that. In any event, we move on. My personal Twitter feed, at Thom Abraham Show. The station's feed, 97.7 ESPN. We are on the Twitch and the Facebook at 97.7 ESPN.com. You get links to all of that. And while you're at it, get our app. You need to have the app. You need to have our YouTube channel, too, so you can watch this mess on YouTube as well, on the YouTube TV channel. You can like and subscribe to that thing. At the app, you'll find links to Zone 2, 3, 4 as well, our alternate streaming channels for more great programming. We have all of that for you. Coming up in a few minutes, Justin Ferguson is back from the Auburn Observer to help us sort through the Brian Harsin mess. Is he still the head coach there? I mean, isn't he in like Cabo or something like that? I mean, they won't blow him out while he's down there, will he? Will they? I don't think they would. At the top of the 11, Ryan O'Gara from Saturday Down South is back. A number of things going on around college football. Number of things going on regarding NIL. We got to get this thing under control, the NIL thing. More on that in a moment. So Lovie Smith gets the Texans job. Dennis Allen is in New Orleans. So both are internal hires from the defensive side of the ball. Those two guys were defensive coordinators with those teams. Brian Flores gets shut out, and his attorney released this condescending statement. Quote, Mr. Flores is happy to hear that the Texans have hired a black head coach, Lovie Smith, as Mr. Flores' goal in bringing his case is to provide real opportunities for black and minority candidates. So apparently he's not happy that they heard, that Lovie Smith's the best guy, but we got to qualify that as saying that Lovie Smith is the black head coach. He's happy to hire a black head coach. Okay. Mr. Flores his goal is bringing his case to provide real opportunities for black and minority candidates to be considered for coaching and executive positions within the NFL. However, we would be remiss not to mention that Mr. Flores was one of the 3 finalists for the Texans head coaching job, and after a great interview and mutual interest, it's obvious that the only reason Mr. Flores was not selected was his decision to stand up against racial inequity across the NFL, close quote. Wow. How old Lovey feels about hearing that. Now, look, Smith was the DC there last year, and they were one of the NFL's worst defenses last year. Not that he had anything to work with. And certainly he has that Super Bowl trip with the Bears in what seems to be like 100 years ago. And I get that he hasn't had a winning season as a head coach either in college or the NFL since 2012. He's been 43 and 77 since the last time they were in the playoffs in 2010. That includes his record at Illinois. But dude did win 3 division championships and 2 NFC championship game appearances. Plus went to the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman as his quarterback, no less. Not an awful resume. I don't see Brian Flores with any conference championship games on his resume. I don't see him with any division titles. It's not an awful resume. Louis Riddick, by the way, who was also a minority, because we have to qualify everything that way now. Louis Riddick is interviewing for the Steelers GM job. Now, this would be fantastic. Oh, not because he's a minority, and it would be the 3rd minority GM hire in this cycle, but it would get him off of Monday Night Football. I mean, that would be great. Brian Greasy's contract is up as well, so maybe that whole booth gets an overhaul. Look, I like Steve Levy, but he just doesn't have the juice to be the voice of Monday Night Football. I'm just saying. I mean, this last round of Monday Night Football guys, Sean McDonough had the juice. I liked Sean McDonough on Monday Night Football. Joe Tessitore, Steve Levy, no. So a lot going on with NIL. Everybody has different rules. I did think it was an interesting note. I mean, Jimbo Fisher went nuts last week. That was a great rant by him, but he went nuts. And he took shots at what appeared to be Nick Saban and maybe Lane Kiffin. But he took shots at people whining about A&M. But look, I always say facts are stubborn things, right? Look at Jimbo at A&M since he's been there. 2018 recruiting cycle, 0 5-stars. 2019 recruiting cycle, 2 5-stars. 2020, 2 5-stars. 2021, 1 5-star. Then NIL comes in. His first post-NIL recruiting class, 7 5-stars and the highest-rated class of all time. I'm just saying. And he rants on and on and on about how Texas A&M is the greatest place in the world. Who wouldn't want to be at Texas A&M? Have you seen our school? Have you been to a game here? Blah, 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 blah. This is after an 8-4 season. This isn't after the season before when they were like 10-1 after their bowl game. This was an 8-4 team that has done nothing in the SEC except for beat Alabama twice. And all of a sudden, they got 7 5-stars in the highest rated class in the history of classes. I'm just saying, where there's smoke, there's Jimbo. I don't know. Rules are different everywhere. Lane Kiffin with his little quip. I don't know, they're going to have to pay a luxury tax? I mean, I like what the Florida Gators are going to do, selling jerseys, and the players get a piece of that, but I don't understand it. Conor O'Gara will help us through all of that, because I thought the school couldn't be involved in anything having to do with it. Is that just in Alabama? They're already working to rescind the rules that they – Alabama was one of the few states that actually came up with NIL rules. A bunch of other states don't have NIL rules, and they're like, wait a minute. The rules in the state of Alabama are actually restricting Alabama and Auburn and the other schools in the state from doing – we got to have some sort of conformity in this NIL thing. There is no NCAA anymore. What is the NCAA? Nothing. We need some kind of rules. In the little glass booth with the slanted ceiling, playing the platters that matter and the stacks of wax, manning the phones, keeping us on the air. Doing a great job back at Mission Control. It's Coach Chris.
Who in the blue hell are you? What is your name? It doesn't matter what your name is.
I'm the producer of this show. If I didn't step up, you're nowhere. I put this thing together out of spit and polish.
I think this is one of the traits of a really good producer. Keep the talent happy.
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew. Now, Tom. Hey, Tom.
Testosterone high today. Testosterone, whatever the f*** it is.
It really doesn't matter what you think. All right? It really doesn't matter what you say.
Any of you play sports?
Grizz are calling it Football Scoop is calling it a major addition to the Terps defensive staff.
He's worked his way up. I mean, it'd be huge. Congratulations to him, seriously.
His run as the associate head coach at Louisiana was epic. It was like a month of off-season. Multiple sources tell Football Scoop that Mike Locksley is adding West Neighbors to the Maryland defensive staff, likely to work with the secondary. Most recently, the associate head coach and outside linebackers coach in 2021 on Billy Neighbors' Louisiana staff. Neighbors, a former University of Alabama player under Nick Saban, who's had coaching stops at his alma mater, as well as Florida Atlantic and the University of South Florida. So there you go. Congratulations to Wesley Neighbors. Not the boss. We're not confusing him with our West Neighbors. Don't. Maybe he won't be at the show tonight. Maybe because he's. Oh, we don't know. I mean, they didn't. Yeah.
He'll go to Maryland for the induction.
I mean, are they sure that it's not our West Neighbors? You know what I mean? Because that would be a major hire. That would be a big deal. It might have been, interesting. Well, congratulations for Wes.
I'd play offensive line for Wes.
That's a good move for him. For Big Wes?
Yeah, for Big Wes, yeah.
Big Wes?
If he would try to tell me something offense, I'd be like, oh, sure, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
Oh, there's no doubt. He knows.
Him and Haas, I'd be like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
As soon as Haas walked in, they was like, oh, yeah, yes, sir. What do you need me to do? Yeah, no, go ahead. It's like he run the place.
I met those two guys at the same time. I was actually doing one of Wesley's high school games. Wesley was playing defensive back for Huntsville High. And Haas's boy was playing as well. So Wes's son and Haas's son were playing. And I'm in the press box there. And I don't know where it wasn't Milton Frank. Where else did Huntsville High play back in the day? This is 04, 05, 06, somewhere in there.
Yeah, no, because I played the same years as Wesley, actually.
So where did they play?
Milton Frank.
High.
Milton Frank.
No, there was someplace. I wasn't Milton Frank.
Oh, well, they would have played on their field.
Yeah, I think it was at their place.
Were you at Goldsmith Schiffman, maybe? Because I know back in the day there were a couple of games at Goldsmith, but I don't know how many times in high school we actually had to play there. I know JV games got played there.
It had like a wooden press box.
And middle school games got played there.
It was a relatively small stadium. I think they were playing Hazel Green maybe or something like that. Anyway, it's pouring like the dickens. I mean, it's raining like a cow pissing on a flat rock. And I'm in the booth doing the game. And then all of a sudden, the booth goes dark. I mean, it just gets dark in the booth. And I'm like, what happened? And I turn around, and they're wearing like these, I think Haas was wearing like this bucket hat, like the old school fishing hat.
Yeah.
One of them bucket-style hats. I turn around, and there's Wes Neighbors and Haas Johnson in the booth to get out of the rain. They come into the press box to get out of the rain. I'm looking around here, and I was bigger then than I am now. I'm like 255 now. I was over 300 then. Those two dudes walk in, and it was like all of a sudden there's 1,000 pounds of meat in the press box. Yeah, I wasn't sure it was going to stay up. And it was not Milton Frank. It was like a wooden press box. I can't even remember.
It could have been Goldsmith. Because Goldsmith did have like little small boxes. They did have, I mean, they still do, I believe.
Yeah,
so.
It was white painted wooden box.
Well, I don't know if it's wooden, but yeah.
It was wooden. Maybe it was metal. I don't know. It was 15, 18 years ago. 15 years ago, maybe.
I know all I ever got to play when I was in high school. All we ever played is a Milton Frank behind Grissom, and I think we got one game my senior year at A&M, if I can remember. No, I don't even think we did that. No, we didn't even do that. No, because that was way after us. So never mind. No. Yeah, we never got anything special. And we went to North Alabama.
How about
of course, because you played Florence and.
How about your alma maters? Yeah, my son played there in Florence. Where UNA plays, right? How about your alma mater's basketball team? Huh? They were pretty good. What were they?
Yeah,
ended up like 21-5 or something like that.
Really good this year. It's a very talented squad that kind of started out in like 8th grade and 9th grade. Seriously, with Izzy, RJ, Ephraim's been a nice addition. To the roster for sure. There's a lot of great guys as well. They were talking this morning with Coach Doss, getting ready for the matchup against Sparkman. So it should be a wild game. I should be able to go to that game tomorrow. I should come to both. I'm probably going to go to both, and then go watch some great area matchups and see what happens there. Because to be honest with you, this is just biased because. I didn't really grow up during the. I mean, I was here, but I was also living in Georgia too, so I didn't really watch Marvin Stone. So when we talk about like talented Grissom players, like RJ's probably the most talented player I've ever seen at Grissom.
Yeah,
like without a doubt, I've probably never seen a more physical player. Where it's like he's like that.
Is he committed someplace?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. He still has another year, so we're talking.
But this is when they commit. Usually,
you never know. It's a guy might get this NIL. You never know. He might get enticed somewhere else.
Might get a deal. Could get a deal now.
But I like what I see in him because he's like that big physical, like power forward that you can play anywhere. Like he's just like a LeBron type player where it's just like he's versatile on both ends of the floor, but he also can take the ball if he needs to and it's just and run point. You know what I mean? It's just it's ridiculous to watch him play.
Drew says he's not committed yet. So
yeah. I didn't think he was. I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah. All right, let's step aside, bring in Justin Ferguson from the Auburn Observer. So he can help us with the Brian Harsin mess before he gets fired. It could happen at any minute, right? I mean, we're just waiting for this to happen. We'll talk to him next. It's the Thom Abraham Show. We're off and running. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Heads up, sports bettors. Right now you can try VSiN All Access free for 30 days with no credit card required. Visit vsin.com/free month to sign up now.
College basketball tonight, number 1 Auburn at Bud Walton Arena against Arkansas, winners of 8 in a row. The Tigers a slight favorite on the road, -2.5. The over-under set at 149. NBA, the Hawks tonight at home against the Pacers. Atlanta 25-28 on the season. They have lost 2 in a row and 3 of their last 4 after ripping off 7 straight wins. Atlanta a 6-point favorite on their home floor tonight, 6:30 tip-off. Aside from the Super Bowl, the Waste Management Phoenix Open gets underway Thursday. Monday's opening odds had John Rahm, the favorite, at +600. Justin Thomas +1,000 and Hideki Matsuyama at +1,400.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Thom Abraham here from my friend Ross Roberts and his team at Valley Equipment Rental on the South Memorial Parkway. Did you know that Valley Equipment Rental is independently owned and operated by local folks right here in the Valley? They are celebrating 10 years in the business this year and have grown to be North Alabama's largest supplier of rental skid steers and mini excavators. Now, if you have a question about what tool to use, just call them at 964-6081, and the pros at Valley Equipment will get you into the tool that you need for your specific project. Valley Equipment, more care in every rental. For over 20 years, Audio Insight has been designing and installing systems that integrate today's technology into homes and businesses all over the Tennessee Valley. At Audio Insight, they don't provide one-size-fits-all system solutions. Instead, they design your system from the ground up based on your valuable input. By working closely with you, Audio Insights can ensure that your system will meet your performance, budget, and aesthetic needs. Visit the showroom at 1229 Putman Drive off Jordan Lane and experience some of their fine products firsthand. Visit audio-insight.com to learn more.
Hey men, this is John Deese, pastor Crosspoint Church. Whether your own marriage is like 1st and goal from the 1-yard line or 4th and 15 from your own 2, there is something to be learned which will help us grow and our wives to grow closer to God and to each other and to finish the game well. So if you are married or single again, our new marriage series, I Do, Building Our Marriage, is for you. Join us this Sunday at Crosspoint Church at 9 o'clock or 10:30, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison, or check us out at cpcfamily.org.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
Get your Ford your way today. Hey folks, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and we've got F-150s in stock right now. We have F-150s on the ground so you can climb behind the wheel and take a test drive today. Plus at Woody Anderson Ford, our 2021 F-150s come with $1,000 in bonus cash, along with financing as low as 0% for up to 60 months with your good credit. This offer ends February 28th. To be clear, these F-150s are in stock today, ready for your garage tonight. Now let's talk about making a custom factory order. Not only is there no extra cost to custom order, but you'll get $1,000 off MSRP on top of any additional factory rebates on 2022 F-150, Explorer, Ranger, Expedition, and Mustang. Go to WoodyAndersonFord.com and you'll see how easy it is. And speaking of easy, our service department is now offering free pickup and delivery when it's time for your next Ford service. Ask about it at Woody Anderson Ford, the corner of Jordan and Sparkman. Look forward to seeing you.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly sunny sky this afternoon. Temperature seasonal for this time of year, climbing into the low and mid-50s, dropping into the low and mid-30s as we head into the overnight. Another quiet Wednesday across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Plenty of sunshine. Temperatures a bit warmer, hanging out in the mid and upper 50s. Some of us making a solid run at 60 degrees. If you don't see 60 on Wednesday, you're probably going to see it on Thursday under a mostly sunny sky. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Chuck Oliver. Listen to me coming up today at noon. Now back to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This segment of the Thom Abraham Show is brought to you by Valley Equipment Rental. For all the equipment you need, it's Valley Equipment Rental. big or small. They got more excavators and more skid steers than anybody in the market and in the valley, anybody in the area. And they're going to have a new location coming up soon, and that'll be on the North Memorial Parkway. And up there, they'll have even more equipment for the contractors, the big stuff, bigger excavators and dozers and all the bigger lifts and all of that kind of stuff, which will free up some space at the South Memorial location, where they'll continue to have everything that you need for the homeowner as well, so you can get the job done like a pro. I don't know if they got anything they can rent to Brian Herson. They may need to rent him something, help him with his move. I don't know. Terrible segue. Joining us now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, Justin Ferguson from the Auburn Observer, where there is everything Auburn at the Auburn Observer, and he joins us now. Ferg, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Tom?
I'm fantastic. Before we get to the negative, let's talk about a couple of positive things. Neville Arena, tell us about that. What the inspiration is behind that with this big gift that Bill and Connie put up.
Yeah, Bill and Connie Neville have made a gift that has been called the biggest in Auburn athletics history. I don't know the exact figure on it yet, but it's more than $10 million because that was the previous largest gift when Auburn was in the planning stages of building their new football
facility. It wouldn't be $18 million, would it? I mean, it could be exactly $18 million. I'm just saying.
The timing of everything right now is interesting. But yeah, this is tied to the new renovations that they're bringing to the arena at Auburn, including a new practice facility that will give both the men's and the women's team their own practice areas so they can have simultaneous practice in there, and some of the upgrades that they want to bring to the arena because Auburn basketball is definitely in the limelight right now. It'll be changed to Neville Arena. That will be official on March the 4th, which is the Friday before the regular season finale against South Carolina, and Auburn will have an on-court recognition on the 5th, the day after that, when they play South Carolina to wrap up the regular season.
Well, that's something that's really cool, and of course they got the game tonight in Arkansas. This is a scrappy Arkansas team, right? I mean, they get 7-3, I think, in the league. You can't just go in there and throw their jerseys on the court and expect to get away with a win.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, I think you can make the argument that Arkansas is right up there with Kentucky and Auburn and playing the best basketball in the league right now. They've got the best defense in conference games this season. Very, very efficient. They figured things out on offense. They got a little healthier. They've got, J.D. Notae is an excellent guard. Jalen Williams down low as their center is a real force on the defensive end. And then they've got three guys from 2 through 4 that are all about 6'6", 220 pounds, switch well on defense. And so they're going to be a tough matchup. Auburn hasn't had a lot of success all time in Fayetteville. This is – I thought this was the toughest game of the back half of their schedule, just because of the way that Arkansas has been playing. They've won 8 straight, and the fact that you don't have to play Kentucky again, you don't have to play LSU again, you don't have to play Alabama again, Tennessee's not quite at the level I think Arkansas is playing at right now. So it's gonna be a really, really tough matchup tonight. Auburn's gonna have to play a really, really good game, I think, to get to 20 straight wins.
And, Wendell Green, the SEC Player of the Week, had 23 against the Tide, and that relatively easy win. Were you surprised, really, at how easy that was? They ended up sweeping Alabama. I know that Bruce Pearl, it's very, very important to him. Obviously, this, Alabama-Auburn game, I don't want to call it the Iron Bowl of basketball because I don't believe in that. I think there's only one Iron Bowl, and I don't even know if that's an Iron Bowl anymore. But
right.
Do you were you surprised at how easily they were able to dispatch the Tide in that game?
Yeah, I was, because the thing about Alabama this season is they've been able to really do well against the best teams that they play against. Auburn's really the only top team that has been able to beat it to that point. Of course, Kentucky beat them over the weekend, but when they played top 10 level teams, they usually came out on top. And so for the fact that Auburn was able to kind of put Alabama away the way they did, and really take advantage of the fact that Bama, I thought going in, Alabama's size, their lack of defense on a consistent basis was going to hurt them. But Auburn scored 100 and hit 5 3-pointers. They just got to the rim and got to the free throw line a ton and made it look easy. And, it's hard to score 100 on anybody in Division I basketball, much less a team that's got the talent of Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama, though. I mean, they jack up, I think, the 9th most three-pointers in the country, and they're like 340th in making three-pointers. I mean, at some point in time, you got to decide, maybe that's not the way this team can play. I mean, it's kind of weird. Justin Ferguson with us from the Auburn Observer. All right, let's get to the 900-pound gorilla in the room. One of our listeners just texted the show and said on this Auburn thing, if I'm Brian Harsin, I resign from the beach on a press release that says I refuse to have my integrity questioned. Well, he's got 18.5 million reasons not to resign, right? I mean, that's not going to be the result of all of this.
Yeah, it would be hard for me to think that Brian Harsin walks away from this without, some sort of money, or Auburn goes into a situation where they feel like they have enough on Brian Harsin to fire him 4 calls. This is a bit wild last week, but this has been in the works a little bit more before then. I know there's a narrative being pushed around right now among fans. This is just kind of boosters going wild, not liking it because Brian Harsin wasn't their guy. The situation is this. Auburn has had 20 players around that hit the transfer portal this offseason. That is more guys that have hit the portal this year than last year after their massive coaching change. They've had several assistant coaches leave, including 2 coordinators within about 2 weeks of each other resign. We saw yesterday that Derek Mason took a $400,000 pay cut to leave Auburn, essentially, and join Oklahoma State. Austin Davis, personal reasons, but resigns very quickly into the job here. That threw up a lot of red flags, including, I think the genesis of this was the Derek Mason departure. Threw up a lot of red flags. The stream of players and personnel coming out of Auburn got the attention of people in charge at the university. They started a long process where they have done an investigation, a lot of interviews. That, to my knowledge, is still ongoing to see if Auburn should continue with Brian Harsin as their head coach. And so that's where we're at today. Brian Harsin is not in the country right now. He is supposed to come back from his regularly scheduled vacation. This is the time of year where coaches usually take a vacation because it's really the only time in the calendar that makes sense. Supposed to be back here either today or tomorrow, and it seems like there's going to be something that comes down within the next 24 to 48 hours. And it does, when this situation gets to this level and this extent, it's hard for me to see a way where Brian Harsin's back as Auburn's head coach. And I think the other thing to keep in mind is that this is not going to be an athletics decision. This is a university decision. And I think we got a signal of that yesterday when Auburn University put out a statement on the investigation, not the Auburn Athletics Department.
It certainly was not a ringing endorsement, of support, that's for sure. When you looked at that, you could kind of read the tea leaves. My question is, it was only 14 months ago. Were they not vetting all of this then, and did none of this type of baggage? I mean, 18 players leaving. He treats us like dogs, the coaches that don't hang around, all of that kind of stuff. None of this shows its face in any of the vetting that they did from his time at Boise, that he was this kind of a guy, a bad human being. He's got the makeup of a winning coach, but he doesn't have the makeup of a winning human being. That comments like that. None of that showed up.
That's the most fascinating part about this whole saga, Tom, is that when Auburn hired Brian Harsin, they were getting a guy who had won 76% of his games at Boise State and at Arkansas State as the head coach. This is a guy that was the most consistent, one of the most, rock solid group of 5 coaches in the country. And it wasn't perfect at Boise always. It's never perfect in a college football program. But things that have been humming there to the point where none of these red flags show up. You did not have the departures and the instability at Boise State that we have seen at Auburn. And I think part of the reason for that is when you get down to it and you look at a lot of the details of this story, is that Brian Harsin came in to Auburn And there has not been a lot of adapting to this situation, to the players that he has at Auburn, to some of the coaches that he has at Auburn, to some of the administration, to the landscape of the SEC. There's a lot of relationships that went sour very, very quickly, and a lot of it kind of points back to Harsin. And that's the situation that Auburn finds itself in, is that it's not that Brian Harsin's not a great football coach. I think his track record speaks for himself. And, I don't think there is a big inciting incident right now that, it seems like kind of created all of this. It just seems that this was not an ideal fit, and it just hasn't gotten any better since he arrived. And so he did not seem to have these same kind of problems at Boise State. So I think when it happens here at Auburn, I think there's a lot of it to do with just the situation and the context, and not adapting and not changing to what's going on here.
And I don't want to be I told you so guy, but I mean, from day one, this was a conversation you and I had, was that this seems like a reach. This is a reach. This is a guy from completely outside of the footprint, had spent virtually none of his career. He born and raised out there in Boise. This is just a different part of the world. And we started hearing these kind of comments that were made by some player, didn't understand me, and so on. And there was all of those kind of comments that came up, and I thought it would be 3 years. I didn't think it would be a year. And I agree. I don't know how you could possibly recover. You can't recruit from this. Having said all of that, if Jordan Battle doesn't drag Tank Bigsby out of bounds with 1 minute and 41 seconds to go, and if Auburn can line up and get a yard on 3rd and 1 on the next play, are we even having this discussion? I mean, I'm not saying that caused this, but could they do that if they had won that game?
Yeah, I find it hard to believe, because here's the thing. You win 1 or 2 of those games down the stretch, do you have the same amount of players leaving? Because I think that's the thing, and do you have the same kind of coaching turnover that you had? Because I think it all happens in the proper context here. Is that Auburn lost 5 games into the season. Auburn did not have a good recruiting run, and they have not had a lot of success in the transfer portal. All of that feeds into itself. It's kind of a back and forth thing. Well, they're not successful on the trail and not successful at maintaining their roster because they didn't win, and vice versa. And so, that's one of those things where it's like, if Auburn flips 1 or 2 of those games down the stretch, especially the Iron Bowl, you probably don't have as much of these feelings where people feel like they need to leave, and they feel like, this is not a situation they want to be a part of. It's one thing, to, not get along with a coach and not see eye to eye. And the transfer portal is one thing, right? Because, we just watched Georgia win a national title, and they had a lot of guys leave. You're never going to get, unanimous support across the board, but the whole direction of the program, really since the beginning of November, has been going down. And that has, I think the on-field results, and I think the, kind of the recruiting results and some of the stuff that goes along with that, has created a situation where it has made it more, it has made it more likely that people will leave. And when enough people leave in the amount and the time that they have from Brian Harsin's program at Auburn, that is going to throw up a ton of red flags to the administration, and that is why they are doing this inquiry. And that's why Brian Harsin's job is in jeopardy less than 2 years into it.
Is it fair? There's a lot of people saying, well, this is an Auburn thing. This is what they do. This is Auburn's doing what Auburn do. And you go back to Bobby Petrino sitting on a plane. You know what I mean? It's just, this is kind of the dysfunction of Auburn. But is that fair when we just saw them give Bruce Pearl basically a lifetime contract? Is it an Auburn thing? Is it a football thing? Or is it just they keep missing? Because here's Bruce Pearl, a guy who certainly had some baggage. They had to bring him in, off of the bench, so to speak. But he has done a wonderful job, and now he's got a $50 million deal that's going to take him basically through the rest of his career. So is it fair to put this on Auburn, is that or is it a completely different group of people that are influencing football as opposed to who influence the rest of the university?
I think there's a little bit of overlap here, but I think this all stems from the fact that you got to go back to the situation that Brian Harsin was hired in. When Gus Malzahn got fired after a winning season in 2020, it was not unanimous that people wanted to get rid of Gus Malzahn. It was not unanimous who they wanted to bring in next. Not everyone was on the same page. There was an attempt made to make Kevin Steele the next head coach at Auburn. It did not work. And when that search, I mean, you remember that search last December, it was so wild and so weird that it kind of, everything kind of just stopped. Alan Green kind of banded together, had a small circle. They went out and made their interviews, and they landed on Brian Harsin for some of the reasons why I said earlier. The guy is really, really successful, outside the box, bringing somebody new, bringing somebody different, culture change. Maybe this will be what Auburn needs to have to be consistently competitive. But that's not how it's worked, and it hasn't worked that way. And so you've had people who have influence at Auburn who are not fans of Brian Harsin and weren't fans of Brian Harsin's from the beginning. I also think there's a situation here where not everybody is on the same page of whether they want to get rid of him or not. They see the direction of the program, but there are people who look around and say, hey, you got to give the man some time. But when you get into a situation where the university is investigating mistreatment and trying to see if they have reasons to fire him for cause, that's a different animal. So I think it's a spot where Auburn has kind of always been in this situation where, powerful people are not always on the same page. This has not been handled well at all. I think the timing of it is one thing is kind of unavoidable. The resignations of the two coordinators at the time they did meant that this kind of deep dive was always going to be at a weird time. It's never ideal to be making coaching moves in February, but the way it's been handled, the way stuff has gotten out, the way it just looks like everything's just not going right. Yeah, this is an Auburn problem. And the fact that people who call the shots and have influence are not on the same page. And they haven't been on the same page for a very, very long time. But this is just kind of the most public and the most messy version of it.
Justin Ferguson with us from the Auburn Observer. How much of this sticks to Alan Green?
That's another great question here, because Alan Green was the guy who went out and got Brian Harsin. Alan Green's in an interesting spot right now, because I think he is part of the group that is doing these investigations. But like I said, this is a university decision, and he's in the last year of his contract. There have been questions about how much power he actually has, at Auburn and calling the shots with athletics. And so, I think a lot of this is going to be tied to him. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that for all of for all of the stuff going on with football right now, he did play a big part in getting that Bruce Pearl extension, raising money, getting some of these donations like the one for the arena renaming, like the one for the football facility. There's been some positive things, and there were the narrative turned around here on Alan Green, but. I think with the new president coming in very, very soon, with this situation going on, it's going to be interesting to see how much longer Alan Green's going to be around here. I thought that for a while, and I thought it before this situation, and this one is just continues to kind of think that it's all kind of in limbo right now.
I think I think we're all in the corner of not if but when this is all going to go down, and
right.
it just feels like it's going to go down. So that then leads us to the job itself. Does it remain an attractive job? Does it turn off so many people that it's hard to get a guy in there that is the right kind of guy? And would a guy like Kevin Steele, who is now the DC at Miami, who just took that gig, is he resurface in any way, shape, or form? Because at least he knows where the bodies are buried.
Yeah, so this is the fascinating part about it, because it is happening in February. It's going to be hard to poach a sitting head coach like this. It just is. I don't think you can buy at the top of the market in the way he did. And Auburn's last search, they had a hard time buying at the top of the market either. We know what Brent Venables said when he got introduced at Oklahoma about the Auburn job. We know about Billy Napier being involved in the search and ended up going at Florida, and some of the things Scott Strickland said about that. It is going to be a really tough sell. It's still a very attractive job, but at the time that it happens, it's going to be harder, I think, for Auburn to get somebody that is going to just be this home run hit. But I think more than anything, moving forward for Auburn, this is going to be a case study in where fit is going to be greater than resume here. Brian Harsin had a great resume. Brian Harsin, even with the guys who criticized him last weekend, his former players, say he's a great football coach. But it wasn't a fit here, and so Auburn's next guy's got to be a good fit. It's got to be somebody who knows this place, or at least knows the SEC and what it takes to succeed here, what it takes to succeed in recruiting, what it takes to succeed with the relationships and the all the politics, for lack of a better term, in handling this job, being more kind of like the CEO and knowing what all that kind of entails. And so you might not get somebody who's this really successful, super sitting head coach right now. But I think the people that are going to come up in this search are going to be guys that either know Auburn or know how to succeed at places like Auburn. That's going to have to be where it goes. So I don't think it's going to be a home run, but they need to get somebody who fits.
All right, finally, Alabama went through this period for, 10 years, right, before Nick Saban, where there were all kinds of weird things going on. Dennis Francione, hold the rope, don't hold the rope, drop the rope, and, Mike Price and that debacle, and Mike Shula rush him in there, and, and so on and so forth. So that kind of continued until you wouldn't have thought that it would have been that great a job that a guy like Nick Saban would end up taking that gig, and now look what they've done. So having said that, pretty prominent guest of ours who was on yesterday just threw his name out and said, do you even call Urban Meyer? I mean, do you even call Urban Meyer and say, you got full control, everybody stay the hell away from him, we're going to give it to Urban Meyer, he's won national championships in the SEC and at Ohio State, and it's your gig, knock yourself out. I mean, do you think something like that could even possibly happen?
I just think there's a lot of baggage with Urban Meyer. And if finding somebody like a Nick Saban, finding somebody from the next level and kind of stepping in and saying, hey, man, be the guy to keep it going. That makes a ton of sense. It is very attractive. But I think there's a lot of, if you're about to be in a situation where you part ways with a coach, and part of the things that we're talking about is how he conducted himself and how he handled himself with his players and people around him, it's going to be hard for me to see how you could sell an Urban Meyer stepping into the situation just because of what has happened in his last few stops. I'm not going to rule anything out at Auburn, but that one just seems tougher because there's a lot of toxicity attached with that brand at the moment.
Always a pleasure, always insightful, a guy that does a tremendous job, Justin Ferguson from the Auburn Observer. Thanks, Ferg.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks. And Grumpy's asking about, Hugh Freeze, and, that name has been brought up as well. And yeah, I agree. Grumpy says if they're going to fire Harsin, what are they waiting for? The longer they wait, the worse it gets. Yeah, that's why it just feels just inevitable. Dude's on vacation at Cabo, and look, I'm not even going down the path of the alleged affair with his assistant. I mean, that thing is flying around as well. I mean, that's not going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, right?
Oh, no, we had people call in last week thinking we were, saying it. It's like, no, this is what's going around. This is just a bunch of Twitter nonsense.
It's his assistant, and, his I mean, it's all over Twitter. But, now we're dealing in salacious, is that what's going to take the guy down? Does it go to the character of the man? I don't know. There's just not enough there for me to go there. This is bigger than that. This is fit. This is fit right from the beginning. Hugh Freeze, has enough time passed. That's what we talked about yesterday. Has enough time passed now that where Hugh Freeze can get back into the league. Is that somewhere you go? Possibly. Kind of dodged the Kevin Steele thing. He talked about poaching a sitting head coach. Hugh Freeze is not. a sitting head coach. That was kind of interesting. All right, let's get a break. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 1, set you up for hour number 2. It's the Thom Abraham Show, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Thom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
And now a small business setback. Set to smooth jazz.
It's late. You're driving in the rain with only one thing on your mind. The deer about to total your HVAC van. But with Progressive's 30-plus customizable coverage options, you're covered. The rest is just saxophone.
When running your small business gets rough, Progressive Commercial is there to smooth it out. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com.
Twinkly sound.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
Here in the South, we like our traditions, like Alabama football and tailgating on fall Saturdays. And the best way to start your tailgate? Visit Brooks & Collier to see North Alabama's largest selection of premium grills and smokers. Big Green Egg, Blaze, and Traeger. Everything you need for that perfect tailgate. Check out our rubs and seasonings. We have a full wall to please any taste palate. Visit Brooks & Collier at 813 Meridian Street or at brooksandcollier.com. An Alabama tradition for 75 years. Roll Tide.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Bring that playoff intensity every day to our shows.
Bring it on, Chomp. Let's go.
Okay, maybe just for Drew DeArmond.
Bing. Me.
Listen for Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew. Weekday mornings starting at 7 on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Brian Hamburger. Not Brian Harrison. Brian Hamburger. His team, North Alabama Mortgage. They are there for you to make sure that you get into the right mortgage product for what you need, whether it's a refinance, like what they did for us. I mean, we did a refinance with North Alabama Mortgage. And, again, I can't reiterate this enough because a lot of people will be like, well, you talk about North Alabama Mortgage because they were your mortgage company. No. I talk about North Alabama Mortgage. They came on board as an Army sponsor. They came on board as and when I met Brian Hammaker, it turned out that we had a lot of the same friends and the same interests. Turned out that we both fish, the Bassmaster Open Series. We are both very involved in that world as well, the whole professional fishing world, and so we hit it off. And then I decided to use them for my refinance, which has resulted in our new kitchen going in, which we have our countertops coming in today. Quartz countertops coming in today. So I can't wait. When I get home from my staff meeting, I'll be looking forward to seeing these quartz countertops that went in. But anyway, they'll do whatever it is that you need. Conventional, VA, FHA, USDA loans. They do it all. And they treat you like family. That's the success there. Go to NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, they handle it all. North Alabama Mortgage. All right, coming up at the top of the hour, we are going to be joined by Connor O'Gara. Not Ryan O'Gara, he's Big Ten. Connor O'Gara, who is SEC, Saturday Down South. And we'll talk to him about a number of things. NIL, got to get his take on the Urban Meyer thought. Guys like Billy Napier, who's now at Florida, saying no to Auburn a year ago. And Brent Venables with his little comment about Auburn. How good is this job? Could they have a major turnaround type of scenario, much like what happened at Alabama in 2007? Could something like that happen for Auburn? Conor O'Gara's next, right here on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now, and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you, so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
At Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, people call the award-winning burgers totally insane, which is a compliment because Bad Daddy's Burgers are just that. Chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness built with premium Angus beef. They're bold and they're bad. Pair one with one of their signature cocktails or assortment of local craft brews. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, 2317 Memorial Parkway. Check out our menu and even order online at baddaddysburgerbar.com. Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Right now, with Thursday's 3 Eastern NBA trade deadline looming, ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting the Trailblazers are in serious discussions to trade guard C.J. McCollum to the Pelicans. Talks between the teams ongoing today. The Pels have prioritized acquiring a high-level veteran guard. The Nets try to snap their 8-game slide tonight when they welcome the Celtics. Guard James Harden listed as questionable because of an injured hamstring. Point guard Kyrie Irving's out due to New York City's COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Forward Kevin Durant's out with a sprained MCL. An estimated $7.61 billion potentially on the line for Super Bowl 56, according to survey results by the American Gaming Association, setting it up to be the most heavily bet game ever. An estimated 31.4 million American adults plan to bet on Sunday's matchup between the Rams and the Bengals.
I want to thank you. Thank you for making us your number one choice for sports talk in North Alabama.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You need to be more like a dog.
Like what you guys are doing. You've got your fingertip on the pulse of your listeners. You guys know what they're talking about.
Be a dog.
God bless the show. You are the Messiah.
We need more dogs.
This is the best show on radio.
The big dog, Thom Abraham, is here with you.
Hey, I see you. I see you, dog.
So settle in and get your bark on.
That's my dog.
Now live, here he is, the big dog.
Let's go, baby!
Thom Abraham.
How you doing? 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 How you doing?
Look, I don't speak Spanish.
I don't know how to say this, so I'm going to choose my words very carefully. I think you're a psycho. Do you know who I am?
I mean, that guy sounds like El McPherson farting into Miles Davis' trumpet.
I guess I'm on here. Am I on? Can somebody respond? Get off my lawn.
I have to drag my Yankee ass out of here.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Thom Abraham Show. This segment brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford and the service department at Woody Anderson Ford. It's your only choice when it comes time to having your vehicle serviced, whether it's a Ford or not. They have the right technicians there to do the job for you at Woody Anderson Ford. Don't forget the certified pre-owned vehicles that they have there as well. They are tremendous. I bought 2 in the last 6 or 8 months, the 2019 F-150 and the 2019 Ford Mustang that my wife drives, and we are extremely pleased with the vehicles that we've gotten at Woody Anderson Ford. And I've been buying vehicles from Woody Anderson Ford since 2005, 2006 maybe. Whenever the Edge first came out, I think that was the first one I bought at Woody Anderson Ford. They do a tremendous job. Check them out, Woody Anderson Ford, Woody Anderson of Madison as well. Joining us now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, a guy that does a tremendous job at Saturday Down South, one of my go-to spots for all my show prep. They just do such good work there and have a great, great staff there. He is, of course, Connor O'Gara, and he joins us now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Connor, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I feel like we've got a lot to talk about, despite the fact that it's, second week of February here. Usually this is kind of when we're like, hey, we can't be recapping stuff, but it's a little bit too early to talk about spring football. And, bless the heart that keeps on giving, that is Auburn football.
Yeah, it is. And you have we just had one of our Auburn insiders on, and he's in agreement with everybody else. This is not a if scenario. This is just a when scenario, right? They're just going through the motions of trying to figure out a way to get out of the $18 million buyout, right? I mean, you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm trying to come up with any sort of scenario in which Brian Harsin is retained under these circumstances, and I just don't see the path to it. That's how quickly this has all kind of come to a head, and it just feels like now, especially after the statement that Auburn came out with on Monday, which was basically word salad for we're looking for a way to fire him with cause to avoid paying that $18 million buyout. Like, this is now, right, like you said, just a matter of when, and it's kind of bizarre to think that we're living in a world in which this could happen. And I guess, though, if there were any program in all of college football in which you'd say, all right, who would, after paying a $21.5 million buyout, have something like this happen with just 1 year of a head coach? Well, it's probably Auburn. And, of course, they find themselves in this strange spot firing another head coach potentially. And I am part of me feels bad for Brian Harsin. Part of me feels like there are things he could have done to maybe change his fate or at least tweak the path to his fate. And there's also a big part of me that says this is just not conducive to success in Power 5 football in this day and age. But I think that all of us right now are just kind of bracing for that news break, whether it's, Bruce Feldman, Ross Dellinger, somebody, Pete Thamel, like whoever's going to drop it, it's going to come probably sometime soon, and we're going to have to talk about another coaching search.
And, you could say about, well, is this Brian Harsin's fault? This was a bad hire. I mean, right from the beginning, this was about fit. I mean, that was what I thought it was a 3-year deal. I really did. I think it would go that in a year, but this seemed to be so much about fit. It's fascinating to me. I mean, you got Derek Mason leaving and taking a job for a $400,000 pay cut just to get away from the guy. The other coordinators, the firing the wide receivers coach 4 games into the season. Obviously, there was something going on there, and then all the players that left. You just wonder in this day and age how you can be vetting a guy, even a guy from Boise, Idaho, you know what I mean? Vetting a guy and not see any of this potential issue in the hiring process.
That's all fair. I think there's something to be said for, was he destined to fail from the jump? I mean, if there are people above Alan Green, who was the person who made this hire, this was considered a big-time deal that an athletic director got to hire the college football coach. What a crazy concept that is to see in this day and age. But at Auburn, that is a big deal. And this was seen as a big victory, and maybe the balance of power is shifting, and Auburn is going to operate like a normal athletics department. And instead, we find out that clearly there are people that don't want Brian Harsin to be their head football coach. And there are people that would prefer not to pay that $18 million buyout, but we could be talking about Auburn paying all of that. And what a weird precedent that would be set to pay $40 million worth of coach buyouts a number that I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't think any program has ever paid that much total in history for coach buyouts, at least not for head coaches. And we could be talking about that in a 14-month stretch. And for what? Who's Auburn going to go out there and hire? Is this all to hire Kevin Steele? You paid $40 million to hire Kevin Steele, somebody who was on your staff with Gus Malzahn? That just seems bizarre to me. And I don't really know what the solution is. It just seems like Auburn continues to say, well, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. And all these things keep coming out about Harsin. But all right, where's the solution then? What are you looking to do? Are you going to ramp up your spending with recruiting? How is this all going to work if you're trying to make this out to be like the sky is falling and you have no choice but to pay this money or to find a way out of paying that money?
And the dichotomy here is that Bruce Pearl, I mean, he's heading up a program that was in the midst of this whole FBI investigation. He had his top assistant coach get clipped for, $100,000 fine and all of this. He just got suspended. Pearl did, recently for 2 games, for not overseeing the staff properly. Of course, he has his past problems from Tennessee, but yet he's winning games and gets a $50 million extension, a lifetime deal. So it makes you wonder, for all of this noise about players leaving and coaches leaving and everything else, if Brian Harsin, if somehow Tank Bigsby figures out a way to get his ass on the ground when Jordan Battle is dragging him out of bounds, or if they get a first down in that game on the next play when it was 3rd and 1, are we even having this conversation? How much of this has to do with, there's these issues, but he also was a 500 coach in 1 year?
In Tank Bigsby's defense, they made a pretty good habit, Auburn did, of not giving him the ball in the fourth quarter of games. So I don't really blame him for not necessarily having the right mindset in that moment, not to beat a dead horse like a certain Gary Danielson did ad nauseum. My gosh, we didn't need any more of that. But
But don't you think that Battle carried him out? I mean, even T.J. Finley said it was not. Tank Bigsby was trying. It to me looked like he was trying to get down. I think Jordan Battle made the play of the year for Alabama. I think he kind of lifted him and was pulling him out of bounds and pulling him out forward to make sure the clock stopped.
Sure. Preventing Bryce Young from going 97 yards without his best receiver. Right.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, there's that too.
Do that. That'd be my idea. But look, I think this is still. You're right. Like, it's a wins and losses business, and of course, we're not having this conversation if Brian Harsin's 10-2. There's no way. We're talking about him for SEC Coach of the Year. We were talking about him for SEC Coach of the Year going into the month of November, and quickly things changed and things unraveled. And I think that if we were in a spot in which we felt like, all right, this has gotten to a place where everybody seems to be against him, and there's nobody defending him. There are people defending him. The problem with Harsin, too, though, is that it's been pretty much a one-way street with the transfer portal, right? And it's been a one-way street with the assistants. It's not like you've got guys who are just chomping at the bit. Let's not forget that the offensive coordinator job took, 3 weeks to fill, and then Austin Davis leaves after 6 weeks? I mean, we have Derek Mason resigning before he even took the pay cut at Oklahoma State. It wasn't like, he has the job and he's going from there to there. He gets a raise. All right, whatever. That stuff happens. Like, it kind of just happened with Josh Gaddis, the Michigan-Miami situation. But we're looking at this now in a totally different lens because of the context that we have. And it's not as simple as one game here, one game there. It's all of these things that have added up to now boosters feel like they have this ammo. And I don't think he should be fired after 1 year. Personally, that's not worth paying $18 million. But clearly, boosters who have a lot of power are fed up with where things went down the stretch.
There's no doubt about it. And you didn't even mention the recruiting. I mean, the high school recruiting has been bad. Yeah. And so that's on top of the transfer portal and everything else. Okay, so looking at the job going forward, and I reminded our listeners in the last segment that, where Alabama was pre-Nick Saban, that was pretty dysfunctional going on down there. I mean, you had the Mike Price thing, you had the Dennis Franchione leaving, you had all that mess of that, hurry up and hire Mike Shula. Yeah, it was a mess. They were in suspension. They had so much different stuff going on there, and then they hired Nick Saban, and, they become Alabama again. For this job here, is there a somehow, I can't believe it, pull out of the fire type of hire that's available? And I'll say the only other guy that's won a championship at multiple universities. Urban Meyer. I mean, would they even try it?
No.
Would Urban Meyer not even look at it, right? They don't even call him. They don't even talk to him. Say, do you want to do what Nick Saban did at Alabama? Would you like to do that here at Auburn?
I'd be stunned. I mean, never rule out anything with Auburn. Like, literally never rule out anything. Everything is on the table. Auburn has had those three coaches, Tommy Tuberville, my guy Gene Chizik, and, of course, Gus Malzahn, who had them on the brink of a national championship. I mean, so their behavior has been rewarded, and I think that's part of why this cycle has gotten to this point. And so you would say, all right, if you make this higher, then theoretically, you would have a championship ceiling. But the difference is all of those happen pre-playoff era. I think the game has changed. I think Auburn has fallen behind. Yes, they've got the new facility coming in next year. It's going to be world-class. It's going to be unbelievable. But I think the game has changed with the spending on recruiting and talent acquisition. And if Auburn has not fully embraced that part of it, and if they're trailing 4 teams in their own division, it's a different ballgame. It just is. And I think that they have to be able to recognize that, and they have to be able to recognize, look, if we're willing to pay all this money for coach buyouts, we should probably ramp up our recruiting spending and not be adequate to just be like, oh, hey, we're smack dab in the middle of Rutgers and Kansas when it comes to recruiting spending. That's not okay, and nothing is going to change. You might have caught lightning in a bottle a few times with certain head coaches, but if you want to have sustained success and have a floor that's above a 4-loss season, then look, like, you need to be able to figure some things out with that end before you hire anybody. I think it's still an attractive job to a certain extent. I think it has a ceiling that many have not recognized quite yet, as it's been rewarded by 3 different coaches in the 21st century.
Connor O'Gara with us from Saturday Down South. Is it time for Hugh Freeze to re-enter the Power 5? I mean, is he a guy that would be – is it been long enough now for him to have a shot?
I kind of thought it would be last year, and it really didn't happen. And Hugh Freeze is getting paid well. I think he's making, like $5 million at Liberty now with that new deal. I mean, they broke the bank for him. I mean, a deal that for that university, which has been very recently moved into the FBS ranks, that is a big-time commitment to make to him. And I'm not saying that he's there for forever or anything like that. And obviously everybody's pointing to the loss of Malik Willis, a guy who might be going in the first rounds of the NFL draft, speaking of Auburn. But I don't think that timing would really line up for him based on the way that he's approached this entire process. I think he's okay doing what he's doing and maybe being away from that SEC limelight. We'll kind of wait and see how that plays out. But I thought he would have had several chances to come to Auburn or come to South Carolina or Tennessee or wherever, and instead that has not happened. And I don't think it's necessarily a Greg Sankey motivated thing. I think there has probably been some resistance on his end, and maybe part of that is with how well he's been treated at Liberty.
Mike Gundy's name keeps coming up, which is ironic since Derek Mason went there, and he would be going from Oklahoma State, which is to Oklahoma, as what Auburn is to Alabama. So I don't know that this would be that attractive to him. But we keep seeing these things from his agent. Get me out of here. Basically is he's interested in making a move. What about that name? Does that make any sense?
Didn't he just get like a lifetime contract? I mean, it's a perpetual 5-year deal. It's essentially like what Mark Stoops has at Kentucky, right? Like it just a year just keeps being added on to the back end of it so that they never have to wonder about that. Talking about Bruce Pearl getting a lifetime contract, I'm pretty sure that's basically the nature of that deal, which you wouldn't agree to unless you were like, all right, I'm ready to kind of not be a part of those rumors anymore. I wouldn't think that Gundy would be in line for that job, but again, like if you're Auburn, you have to figure this out. You have to figure this out at this point, and it can't just be calling up Kevin Steele and being like, "Hey, we just spent $40 million replacing head coaches. You want to come on board?" Like I would tend to think that you would have to go after a big time splash like that, but I don't know. I would think that lifetime contract would have some sort of power to keep him in Stillwater.
Well, Steele knows about getting money for nothing. I mean, he got $900,000 out of Tennessee to go there and babysit the program for a month, so he knows how that rolls. Certainly, Connor O'Gara with us here. All right, let's shift gears for a minute. epic rant from Jimbo Fisher last week. I thought it was outstanding, really, in terms of the passion, and he was ready for it. It looked like he had notes. He kept turning over the notes, and he was ready to go on this rant about NIL. But the facts are, they had a year unlike – they had more 5-star kids sign with them this year than they had in the previous 4 years under Jimbo Fisher combined. And all of a sudden, this was the year of NIL. And I mean, we got to try and get this under control, don't we, in terms of having uniformity? I mean, is there any way to try and get uniformity here? Because it seems like it obviously is the wild, wild west right now, and it can't stay this way.
I would brace yourself for that reality. I mean, pay for play is coming. We're going to get to that point, but maybe it's in the latter part of the decade when that new playoff contract kicks in 2026. But it's happening. I don't think it's changing. I think the toothpaste is out of the tube now. I think that A&M having this unbelievable class, this historic class, kind of raised eyebrows across college football. Then, of course, the rumor that came out about the $30 million class, which you actually break it down and think about it for 2 seconds instead of just running with it, you realize how absurd that actually would be to pay a recruiting class $30 million. Like, why wouldn't you just pay all these guys that you have leaving for the NFL draft? Why wouldn't you do that instead with that money? So, look, I don't buy into that. I think Jimbo was 100% right to push back on Lane Kiffin calling him out. For Lane Kiffin to run with that and just kind of shoot from the hip, I thought that was a little bit much even for him. And I think the weird thing about this, though, is that there's still this resistance, and I think it's ego, I think it's hubris for these head coaches to admit, yeah, we use NIL, and it's working. Jimbo Fisher's the same guy that went on Feinbaum and said, yeah, there's always been NIL, now it's just above grade. That was the thing that Saban said, look, I don't know these crazy people getting on TV saying that there's always been NIL. We've never paid anyone. I don't believe either of these things are true. I don't believe, one, that Alabama has never paid a player with having 9 top recruiting classes in the last 12 years, and I also don't believe that Jimbo Fisher didn't use NIL as he claimed that he did to sign this unbelievable class. Why can't we just embrace all of this and accept that it's part of the game now, and there are not regulations in place because the NCAA is the parent that's at a loss for words and just throws their hands up and says, all right, you figure it out, kid. That's pretty much where we're at in this sport, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Well, the state of Alabama put rules in place, and now they're trying to rescind the rules because they're like, wait a minute, now Alabama and the schools, Auburn and the schools in the state, they have more restrictive rules in places than some other states that don't have any rules. So because there isn't a national – because we don't really have an NCAA and because there isn't a national organization that says, okay, this is the way it'll be, you have all these different things in place, and it's very confusing. Like I have always said, I thought the players should get a cut of their jersey sales. In fact, I thought all of that money should go you buy Najee Harris's jersey or Bryce Young's jersey or Bo Nix's jersey, I thought that should go into a pool that got split evenly amongst everybody because, yeah, it's Bo Nix's jersey, but he needs those offensive linemen too. Nobody buys their jersey, but that's part of the deal. And now the Florida Gators apparently have this deal in place where people will be able to buy Florida Gator jerseys of players, and the players get a cut of that, which is great. But I thought, schools were not allowed to be in the middle of the NIL deals. And so how's the University of Florida going to be selling jerseys and giving the players a cut of that money if the school is supposed to be out of the mix of this whole thing?
LSU's doing it as well. LSU was actually first. I think Michigan was even before them doing this. This happened last year, and I think it's a school-by-school basis in terms of what universities are allowing their likeness to be used with a specific player and their NIL opportunities. It's a case-by-case basis. Some have rules in place where if you're doing anything for profit, then you can't have the university's logo. Others have said, you know what, we're okay if you're wearing LSU gear while you're signing autographs or if you're signing LSU helmets, that's okay. And there are certain places in which that is not allowed, and there are certain places in which there are, and we're still trying to figure out what all of that looks like. But yeah, I mean, in theory, doesn't that make sense, right? If there's ever a place that an athlete should benefit, it should be selling their own jersey. And now you don't have to get all these knockoffs from random sites in China or wherever so many of these these custom jerseys come from. You can just go to the team website and benefit a player, and instead of buying a player's random merch, that you'll probably wear like 3 times, you can get a jersey instead. I think there are a lot of benefits to that. I think we were going to be heading in this direction, and now we're seeing teams actually able to embrace it.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a uniformity. Like, I'll use the NFL example because this is starting to turn into professional football basically. But, NFL Properties that has a deal with the players union, and 3% of every hat sale, jacket, anything that's got an NFL logo on it, 3% goes into a pot that gets evenly divvied up amongst players and coaches at the end of the year. And I remember in the 90s when I was coaching, that was $90,000 for the coaches. Whether you were the last guy on the staff or whether you were Don Shula, it was $90,000 everybody got. There were guys that were coaching that made more money on NFL Properties than they made in their salary back in the day when $70,000 or $80,000 is what a position coach got paid. So you almost would think it would be something like that, where the whole NCAA properties, every jersey, hat, T-shirt, everything, and then a certain amount of that money goes into a hopper, including the EA Sports, college football, the video game, and all that stuff, goes into a hopper, and all of the players get a piece of it. But it seems like we're a million miles away from any kind of uniformity like that.
Well, you said the word right there, uniformity, and you said it before, the NFLPA. They have a union.
Yeah.
College athletes don't have a union. In the pre-pay for play era, there can't be this union. So, yeah, you're gonna allow those specific players to benefit. And to be honest, I have no problem with it. Isn't that basic capitalism, right? To say, hey, if you're the starting quarterback and your jersey sales are X, then shouldn't you make the biggest profit? And the backup left tackle shouldn't necessarily make as much as you. Like, that's what we've incentivized with the NIL era. And you know what? That's where every other big sort of business has lent itself to. And even in the NFL, let's not sit here and pretend like there are the same amount of opportunities available for the backup right guard compared to the star quarterback. That's just not the case. So, yeah, you can have a union in place and you can share certain profits, but it's still going to be skewed towards the household names, and that won't change if and when college athletes do get a union, maybe in the latter part of the decade here.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's no doubt that there's other values, but every time Tom Brady jersey sells, that backup left tackle does get a little piece of that action. That's just the way that whole deal works. Tell people how they can listen to your podcast, because I know you do a great podcast as well, and they want to hear more from you.
Yes, Saturday Down South podcast, wherever you get your podcast, iTunes, Spotify, you name it. We're SoundCloud. We're all over the place. We're doing two a week. We record Monday and Thursday, and nice. We have had no shortage of things to be able to talk about. Got some big guests coming up soon. So yeah, lots of great off-season stuff. If you're one of those people that's just like, get me to fall as soon as possible, I promise you we can make that time fly by a little bit quicker.
I think we're only like 31 weeks away or something like that. I mean, it doesn't sound as bad. I like when you do it in weeks, not days. Days sound like too many, but when you say, hey, it's 31 weeks away from opening day, that's a whole nother deal. All right, Connor O'Gara has been our guest. Connor, as always, I appreciate you, man. You do a great job.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to break. We're going to go open lines now the rest of the way. We've thrown a lot of stuff on the table there. It is Super Bowl week. I want to get back to that. I got a Tuesday top 10 for you. I got that as well. And, plenty of other stuff to get into right here on the Thom Abraham Show. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Heads up, sports bettors. Right now you can try VSiN All Access free for 30 days with no credit card required. Visit vsin.com/free month to sign up now.
NBA, the Hawks tonight at home against the Pacers. Atlanta 25-28 on the season. They have lost 2 in a row and 3 of their last 4 after ripping off 7 straight wins. Atlanta a 6-point favorite on their home floor tonight, 6:30 tip-off. Aside from the Super Bowl, the Waste Management Phoenix Open gets underway Thursday. Monday's opening odds had John Rahm, the favorite, at plus 600, Justin Thomas plus 1,000, and Hideki Matsuyama at plus 1,400. College basketball tonight, number 1 Auburn at Bud Walton Arena against Arkansas, winners of 8 in a row. The Tigers a slight favorite on the road, minus 2.5. The over-under set at 149. I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Get your Ford your way today. Hey folks, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and we've got F-150s in stock right now. We have F-150s on the ground so you can climb behind the wheel and take a test drive today. Plus at Woody Anderson Ford, our 2021 F-150s come with $1,000 in bonus cash, along with financing as low as 0% for up to 60 months with your good credit. This offer ends February 28th. To be clear, these F-150s are in stock today, ready for your garage tonight. Now let's talk about making a custom factory order. Not only is there no extra cost to custom order, but you'll get $1,000 off MSRP on top of any additional factory rebates on 2022 F-150, Explorer, Ranger, Expedition, and Mustang. Go to WoodyAndersonFord.com and you'll see how easy it is. And speaking of easy, our service department is now offering free pickup and delivery when it's time for your next Ford service. Ask about it at Woody Anderson Ford, the corner of Jordan and Sparkman. Look forward to seeing you.
Thom Abraham here from my friend Ross Roberts and his team at Valley Equipment Rental. Coming in April, Valley will have a second location opening up on the North Parkway between Winchester Road and Bob Wade. They'll be offering bigger contractor-only type equipment, including 10K reach forklifts, 300 series track hose, and larger rollers and dozers, along with other equipment. Valley Equipment's 2 locations will better serve the region and allow them to grow their fleet. Valley Equipment Rental, locally owned for 10 years, where they put more care in every rental.
I love overpriced stuff. That's why I get my internet from the other guys. What could be better?
Wow is better. Get Internet 100 for just $19.99 a month. Sign up at Huawei.com.
Wow.
Limited to new customers with auto pay and paperless billing. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Offer subject to change. Restrictions and terms apply.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly sunny sky this afternoon. Temperature seasonal for this time of year, climbing into the low and mid-50s, dropping into the low and mid-30s as we head into the overnight. Another quiet Wednesday across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Plenty of sunshine. Temperatures a bit warmer, hanging out in the mid and upper 50s. Some of us making a solid run at 60 degrees. If you don't see 60 on Wednesday, you're probably going to see it on Thursday under a mostly sunny sky. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is the only place for Drew DeArmond, Wes Neighbors, and of course, Thom Abraham.
I never met him, but I hear that he's a man of character.
97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, more of the Thom Abraham Show on your home for Crimson Tide Sports, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Roll Tide.
Segment of the Thom Abraham Show is brought to you by TOC. That stands for the Orthopedic Center. Which stands for greatness. Any orthopedic need that you have, they can take care of. The Orthopedic Center. And it doesn't matter. They got a hand specialist, they got an elbow specialist, they got a shoulder specialist, they got a knee specialist. I mean, they handle everything. And they've been around for over 20 years now. The docs there do a tremendous job. They are great. Great bedside manner. Really cool guys. And you need to check them out. It's TOC Sports. All right, phone lines are open, 576-4977. It's 256-576-4977. That will get you into the show. Grizz, I always like opening packages, opening boxes. You know what I mean? And
getting presents anytime. Anytime getting presents.
It's like presents. You know what I mean? It was this box was on the porch. You see the box here? Those of you who are watching on
I
the
watched
TV.
you before the show do that, or before we came back.
Oh, yeah? Was it? I was
watching you open it, yeah.
Yeah, so
you had the camera back on.
One of my sponsors, my fishing sponsors, is the Bass University. And by the way, these guys at the Bass University are amazing. I mean, the things that they have there, you can go sign up at the Bass University. They got over 900 videos. If you want to be a better fisherman, sign up for the Bass University. And they are really, really good guys. And there are videos there from everybody, every technique, every style of fishing. You want to see the Gerald Swindle videos or the Greg Hackney videos or all of those. They're all there. A lot of them are short. Some of them are longer. All right? They do a great job. If you go to bassu.tv/radio, please, when you do it, if you got a heart to do that, if that's something you want to do, it's bassu.tv and then /radio. Because if you say /radio, then we get, acknowledgement for it so that they know that their advertising is working. But anyway, Grace, there was a box.
I like the color.
Isn't that beautiful? They just that's what was in the box.
That's nice.
It's that's a cool looking hat.
Is that a mesh on the back or is it?
Yeah, that's mesh. That's that Richardson trucker
like
style.
Yeah, I like
hat.
hats like that.
Yeah, it kind of came back into vogue, but it's got structure to it. I
trucker
like
hats
that.
always been pretty cool to me.
No, there was a time when it kind of went out a little bit, but yeah. But I like this one.
Over the top.
This is a good one. I'll have to wear this and then they also sent me a buff. It looks like, yeah, this would be a Bass University buff, which is pretty cool as well. Which is that thing that you wear over your head and neck, during when you're out there.
Oh yeah,
in the
that's
sun.
nice.
Isn't that cool? There you go, Bass University. All right, so now I got. Hopefully they'll fit over my big head. So we'll see how that works. All right, phone lines are open, 576-4977. We go to the lines. Harry Steer? Is that what you're – Harry Steer? I mean, Harry Steer, are you a first-timer in this show?
I am. I appreciate the opportunity, Tom. And, again, before we get started, I'd like to thank you for everything you do for local sports here in the Huntsville and the Tennessee Valley area. You're the only show I'd ever consider calling, and I do appreciate you and Coach Grizz's support to all the athletic activities, particularly at the high school and college level here in town. It's really a good source of information. I appreciate y'all's dedication and support.
Well, thank you for saying that. I got Ric Flair standing in the corner. He likes a first-time caller, so he likes to give us a little love for first-time callers. But I will say this about that, and we do some of that. But I will say this: our morning show, I mean, those guys, Scott and Drew. Those guys do more for local sports in this area than anybody I've ever heard. I've been here almost 20 years now. I've been here like 18 years, and nobody covers the local minutia like Scott and Drew.
I wish I knew half the stuff Drew knew about knows in this area.
What they do on local stuff is incredible. So if you like local stuff, try and catch that too.
Yeah, the reason I called this morning, I got 2 points for you. I've been an Auburn fan since I was 12 years old and listened to Auburn football on an AM radio station out of Columbus, Georgia. And I can tell you right now, this is just the dysfunctionality of what happens with Auburn football. I hope that the university investigation turns up and we get some positive results out of this. But we're a dysfunctional family, and we do get a lot of, over the years, through Pat Dye and through the coaches' litany y'all gone through on the more authoritative subject matter experts than I, this is just something that's the ugly side of the Auburn family, kind of like your drunk uncle. But we got to get past.
Do you find it odd the way they handle Bruce Pearl versus the way they're handling their football coach? Because it's like, Bruce Pearl, he gets a lifetime contract. He's got a lot of bodies on his belt as well. But it seems to be, it's handled differently because they're winning.
I think it's more of a timing issue and more of a fact that in the Southeastern Conference, football is king, and that the power brokers to be take a lot of interest, more interest in football and meddling in football than they do in basketball. Pearl's done an outstanding job, and if you ever get an opportunity to be around Coach Pearl and have him talk to you about how Jay Jacobs approached him about the job, it's well worth an interesting story there. But again, we'll get through this, and Auburn's a wonderful institution, and they'll work through that. And I'm hoping that Googe's going away present to Chris Roberts is he can get this thing back in the box. I think the biggest concern, quite frankly, and it's one of the things that everybody's not focusing on right now, but it's that institutional control and institutional presence that you have to have in a program, and they don't want to get the NCAA involved with undue influence from outside of the university, i.e. the boosters. And I think that's something that Googe is guarding very carefully. He's brought in the law firm that he's used in the past on other types of issues like this, and he's going to have objective documented evidence and work our way through it. I hope so. That's what I'm hoping for, and we don't have another series of incidents like we had in the past.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting if it comes down to, has he done anything really wrong, or is he just an ass? You know what I mean? Because that's what it feels like, other than what might be going on with his assistant, and that's a whole other deal. But it feels like, it's not like there's recruiting violations. It's not like she cheated. It's not like it's not the Jeremy Pruitt situation, out of Tennessee. It feels like in this situation, he's just an ass. And the players don't like him, and the other coaches don't like him. So do you fire a guy? You hired him. I mean, you're going to fire a guy because nobody wants to be around him? That's going to be what the issue is.
Tom, you and I grew up in a time when football, you coaches wouldn't get away with stuff that we went through growing up in football, because everybody was a hard ass and everybody was tough, and they put that toughness into you. Chuck Jordan used to say you had to go out in the wintertime and put the bottom in the boys to have them ready to go in the fall. So I'm sure, and there's Pat Dye. If you remember Pat Dye's first season, it was a real coming up there in Alabama, in Auburn, when he explained to them what toughness he was looking for. So it's a different world, and you got to look through it in that lens also. But I can tell you, with social media and everyone having an agenda until it happens to you, you've really got to stay objective and look for the evidence and that documented evidence that leads to positive outcomes. This thing is a carnival. It's really going to be hard to play out. I really feel hard felt for the Carson family, but it'll play itself out over time, and I hope it works out well. Probably one of the happiest guys in the state is the defensive coordinator in Alabama that got the other side of the law earlier in the week, and he's glad this story came along and documented.
Nobody's talking about Pete Golding's DUI. Nobody wants. Hey, Pete Golding. Hey, what the DUI? Yeah.
The other part, and I'll get off the line here in just a second. The other part is this Flores thing down in Miami. This thing's going to play out. One of the things that strikes me as odd right now is the Denver Broncos are up for sale. Why doesn't a consortium of black investors buy that football team and start working that old white man's club from the inside out as an owner, and try to make positive, constructive change from the inside? As long as these old white men keep running the league, they run like a country club, you're going to continue to have these kind of issues crop up. And having been a soldier for 30 years, the only C I care about is character, and you're going to have these types of issues until.
But do you really think that they care?
And work through that.
Don't you think they just want to win? If they could find a Mike Tomlin, whether it's a Bill Belichick or a Mike Tomlin, or whether the guy is white or black or whatever, if the guy's successful, I would think that the coaches or that the owners are not that concerned about why the hell would they care? I mean, they got their players are 70% black. Why would they care? Why would they be racist? I mean, it doesn't make sense that they would be literally racist. And then you look at a situation where the guys who are really making these hires are the GMs. So in Chicago, they hire Ryan Poles, who is half black, but he identifies as black. They hire Ryan Poles. He doesn't even interview. Eric Bieniemy, and he 2 days after he's hired hires the white defensive coordinator from the Colts. So it's like, I think the issue has got to be bigger than, when you got you have the situation with Flores. He's attacking, or his attorney is attacking the Texans because they hired the wrong black guy now. Now it's not about he hired a black guy. It's that they didn't hire me. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think we got to get we got to get past it.
It's very awkward, and I've often thought about the same thing, but I don't believe the fact that it's racist. I believe it's more of the fact that they're comfortable in the status quo, and they don't want to change. They're truly unique and reluctant to change, and until you start trying to change it from the inside and work it hard, and these are hard issues to work, you're going to have these types of things happen, and it's a microcosm of what's happening in our country right now. So,
yeah. Well, certainly that wouldn't be a bad thing. I mean, it would be, to have. I am not one to pre-qualify that way. It would be neat, to have a African American owner, in the NFL. It would be no doubt about that. But I'm not one to pre-qualify that way. Like what the president is doing with this position, on the Supreme Court. For him to say, I don't know who it's going to be, but I can tell you it's going to be a black woman. You just eliminated all of the men in the country and all of the white folks in the country because you say, I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be a black woman. I mean, to me, that's racist, right? I mean, that seems as racist as anything else. So we have to figure out a way to get past this in this country. We just have to figure out a way to do it.
And that's true, and it shouldn't be by an exception. We should have already had a black, fully qualified black Supreme Court justice female, if that's in the cards. But again, you have to go to drastic measures sometimes to get people into comfort zones,
I guess,
that provide opportunities and equality across our nation and our republic.
Yeah. All right. Good call, man. Don't be a stranger.
I appreciate your time this morning. You take care.
Right.
God bless.
It's good stuff. Good call there. By the way, the coach of the Charlotte Hornets, Grizz, the coach of the Charlotte Hornets, James Borrego. Is that James Borrego? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah,
Borrego.
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 Yeah, Borrego.
I mean, he's a white guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who owns the Charlotte Hornets? Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I'm just, I get it.
Wait a minute. How can Michael Jordan hire a white guy to be the coach of his team?
I get what you're saying. I mean, I want to,
it doesn't matter, is what it is. What it is, it shouldn't matter. I mean, Michael Jordan's the owner of the Charlotte Hornets. This coach is white. Do people attack him? No, you can't do that. Just hire the best people, and we're all so blended anyway. I mean, so many people are so blended. It's crazy. When you think about it. The Tiger Woods, that was the big story. Tiger Woods has got black and white and Asian. He called himself a Kelblin Asian. Bubba Wallace, yeah, Bubba Wallace's daddy. It could be Chad's daddy. It's as white as Chad. I mean, the guy I hired in Miami. Nobody even knew he had black blood in him. His grandma on his dad's side is black. Hey, we got another minority hired. It's a quarter black. Oh, this guy's got Lebanese parents. That's a minority hire. I got a Lebanese parent. I'm not a minority. Ray Dog is next. Ray Dog, welcome to the show. How are you?
It's been an adventurous day, hasn't it?
It has. It always is on this show, man. It's always a train wreck.
At least it's a runaway train.
Yeah.
No, I originally called about the Harsin thing, but I'm going to address one thing. The last caller.
He was good, by the way. That Harry Steer.
Oh, that was good.
That guy was good. All right, that was a good call right there. I hope he continues to contribute to the show because he was intelligent and well thought out what he had to say. That's a good call right there. That's all I'm looking for, some good calls.
And, the thing is, with the black ownership group, that's all great and good. And in our utopian thought process, that would be possible and likely, but any new ownership group has to be approved by the current owners.
They're not going to blackball a ownership group because they're African American. I mean, you guys are painting these NFL owners like they're a bunch of racists. They don't care. I'm telling you, they don't care whether the owner is black, whether the coach is black, they want an owner that can bring in money to them. They share equally in the money. In fact, if I was an existing owner in the NFL, I would be begging for a minority group to buy one of the teams because I think that would create more interest. More interest means more sales. More sales means they all share in the money. You know what I mean? To me, if I was Jerry Jones or Jimmy Haslam or any of these other owners, I'd be like, please, let's identify a minority ownership group for one of these teams. It would be the best thing in the world.
You know, you remember 4 or 5 years ago when the NFL really started pushing the women's line of apparel.
Yeah.
You know, that whole thought process of, oh, my God, we got to make sure moms want their sons to play football so we can secure the viability of the league in 30 years.
Yeah. Well, that's a part of it. There also is the fact that, you know, 48% of the fans of the NFL are women. You know, people don't realize that. The NFL has tons of female fans.
But the Auburn thing, and I haven't overly paid attention to Auburn, the intricate details much over the 35 years, I guess you could call me a conscious sports fan. But it occurs to me, doesn't Auburn Athletics feel a little bit like that controlling, abusive husband? As long as you make me look good and give me a positive image to the world, I lavish you with gifts and attention. But the second you screw up and make me look bad.
Yeah, it's an interesting analogy. I mean, it's a little grim. I mean, I don't want to compare Auburn Athletics to domestic abuse. I mean, you know, just not sure I want to go there.
A log to throw on the fire.
Yeah, it was definitely a log. It's like napalm you're throwing on the fire. Thanks, Ray Dog. Throwing a little napalm on the fire there. All right, we'll get a break. When we come back, Keith, the Michigan fan, will wrap it up for us. He's coming up next. It's the Thom Abraham Show, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
At Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, people call the award-winning burgers totally insane, which is a compliment because Bad Daddy's Burgers are just that. Chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness built with premium Angus beef. They're bold and they're bad. Pair one with one of their signature cocktails or assortment of local craft brews. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, 2317 Memorial Parkway. Check out our menu and even order online at baddaddysburgerbar.com. Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
A wise man once said, if you take care of old folks and children, everything in the middle will take care of itself.
Hi, I'm Danny Aldridge, lawyer in Alabama and Tennessee. In the next 20 years, the number of those folks over 65 years of age will more than double. In our golden years, the most important goal is to be treated with dignity and have control over doing what makes you grateful with those you love. At the Aldridge Law Firm and the Legal Town Center, we're dedicated to help you with these goals, and we'll be there when life throws you those inevitable curveballs. Let us assist you with your legal needs, whatever they may be or become. You may reach us by phone at 256-534-3188 or online with Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Just remember, we're here to help. Whether it's personal injury, wrongful death, fraud and cheat, or estate planning made complete, we're here to help.
And now a small business setback, set to smooth jazz.
It's late. You're driving in the rain with only one thing on your mind. The deer about to total your HVAC van. But with Progressive's 30-plus customizable coverage options, you're covered. The rest is just saxophone.
When running your small business gets rough, Progressive Commercial is there to smooth it out. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Twinkly sound.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your insulation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on two services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatedwitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
So I'm gonna watch it on TV.
The game's on. Oh, I almost forgot. I'll be right there.
We like sports and we don't care who knows. From shooting hoops to the Super Bowl. We like sports and we don't care who knows.
Football,
tennis, hockey, golf. The game is starting. Everyone is here. I got my snacks, my friends, and a beer.
So I'm gonna watch it on TV.
Are you ready for football? A Monday night party.
So I'm gonna watch it on TV. So I'm gonna watch it on TV.
What to watch on TV tonight is brought to you by Audio Insight. They've been designing and installing systems for over 20 years throughout the Tennessee Valley. Dave Bond and his crew can do it for you as well. It could be something simple like hanging a TV or a sound bar, or something like creating an entire home theater for you. They can do it all. Go to Audio-Insight to learn more. That's audio-insight.com to learn more. Tonight, some good SEC basketball. Auburn is at Arkansas. That ought to be a pretty good game as Auburn goes for, I think, 20 in a row on their wins. Alabama and Ole Miss also tonight. That one is on the SEC network. Auburn and Arkansas, I think, is ESPN2. Plus, the NHL is back tonight, a doubleheader on TNT. You can check that out. The Nashville Predators are at the Dallas Stars. That one is at 7 o'clock on TNT tonight. A caller called in during the break, or right before we went to break, didn't come on the air, and he said that I don't live these issues every day. Tom doesn't live these issues every day, and that he isn't going to listen to me anymore because I am a racist. That's what he said. Now, that's cancel culture. I mean, you can go ahead, and you don't want to listen to me, you don't have to listen to me. All right, but I am the antithesis of a racist. I'm the exact opposite of a racist. I don't care. Okay? I don't care. I don't buy the BS. I don't care. Whatever these problems are that you live, you don't live the problems I live. You don't live the problems my kids live. You don't live the problems my father lived. Okay? and I don't live the problems you live. But I'm not into excuses. I'm not into saying that, I think we're a very mixed society. It's laughable at times because there's so much mixing going on in our races. And I think it's time to get past that. And I think a lot of it is created by media. I think people generally get along. That's it. I think it's good people versus bad people. I don't think it's black versus white. It's good folks and bad folks. Extremists on both sides. That's where I'm at on it. But that's all right. It's America. You got the right to bail if you want to bail. Now, let me get Keith, the Michigan fan, in here to wrap this up. Keith, welcome in. How are you?
Hey, big dog, doing all right. Hey, I know you're not racist, so let's go. Yeah. Detroit Lions, Caldwell. Now, when he coached, he took them to the playoffs 2 years. Then they fired him to bring in Belichick, defensive coordinator, and they go right down back to where they were.
Right.
Can you explain that?
Well, I think that they went to the playoffs 2 years and they fired him off of a playoff year, right? I mean, let's just look at
They fired him off of a winning year.
Yeah, he did. He had a winning rate. He was 7-9 in 2015, then 9-7, 9-7. Didn't make the playoffs the last year. And, to me, he's a guy that deserves an opportunity. He had that year at Indianapolis where he was 2-14, but then he bounced back. And with Detroit, he went 11-5 his first year. Took him to the playoffs twice. Was 7-9 one year. I mean, he's a guy that's got a 62-50 record overall. He deserves an opportunity to coach again. Did they feel like they were stuck in the mud? Maybe, but I don't think they pulled the trigger on him, for any other reason. I don't think they did it because he's a black guy.
Oh no, and he even got old now, so
yeah,
they got to get the young. They got to get the young blood in.
And that's the other discrimination. We're discriminating against, people that are older. I'm happy for Lovie Smith. He's 64 years old. I'm happy that they gave a guy 64 years old an opportunity.
Hey, I've been looking for it. I finally got a job, but I'm older than you, and it took me a minute.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it, Keith. Oh, no, you don't know, Keith. You do know. Everything changed for me. When I got about 55, all of the offers stopped coming in. It was pretty funny. So all of a sudden, I went from being young talent to being, he's an older guy. All right, coming up next, Chuck Oliver, right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealers?